Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing around 4 things to think about when selling your own artwork so that you make a profit. The first thing to think about when selling your own artwork is how much did it cost to produce that piece of work in materials. So whether you spend £50, £100, £1,000, that's your basis. You can't go any lower than that, otherwise you immediately lose money. If you've spent £1,000 on a piece of work and you sell it for £800, then you've already lost money. So keep in mind your material costs, and that's a really good starting point from when pricing your own work. The next thing to think about is the time you've spent making each piece of work. So it depends on how you want to do it. So you can charge either an hourly wage, like most places would do in a kind of normal job. So whether you want to charge yourself £10 an hour, £15, £20 an hour, it's completely up to you. Or you can charge by the day or by the week or whatever's easiest. You obviously want to work out how much it's cost you in time plus the materials, and then you've got a really good solid point for the next areas to think about. The third thing you need to think about is quite a long thing to think about, and there's lots of little extra bits, and that is extra bits to think about. So these cover kind of studio costs, commissions, tax, VAT, all these like little things. So updating your website, managing your website, documenting your work, all the little extra bits that don't actually go into a single piece of work but still take time out of your day and still cost a lot of money to keep up with your practice. All those little things need to be thought about, and they need to be added into the cost of the artwork as well. It might be very small, it might be quite large. Obviously they're going to be spread across all your artworks, so it will be quite small, but it is something to keep in mind when pricing your artwork. An added thing to think about with the extras as well is how much it costs, especially if you're online based, how much it costs to package the piece of work and how much it costs to deliver that piece of work to the person. There was one time I sold a sculpture to Australia and I used the post office, and the post office wasn't the best place to go to for the best deal, and it ended up costing me over £200 to send this piece of work to Australia. This piece of work only sold for about, I think it's about £500, £600. So straight off the bat, there was £200 to take off that, and I only charged the customer £80. So I was already £120 down just from the delivery cost. So that's one thing you have to be really careful with as well, are the delivery costs and the packaging and all that kind of stuff. So make sure that's either built into the price of the artwork or it's an additional add-on when someone purchases a piece of work from you. And the final one might take a little bit of practice and time to get used to, but it's basically an eye for something, how much you think it can sell for and how much it just won't sell for. So if you've made a piece of work and you've used all these kind of numbers to figure out that the minimum price of this work could be £3,000, but you're looking at it and you're thinking no one in their right mind is going to spend £3,000 on this piece of work, you have to really be careful of how much a piece of work is actually worth. And worth is a hard one to say because it might be worth a lot to someone and less to somebody else. So it is dependable, but usually when you start selling, you have a good idea of price points and how much you can sell for your piece of work and whatnot. But if you made a piece of work and you've used kind of all these things before and it came to about 250, but it's a really special piece of work to you and you think it's worth a lot more money than the basic price, then feel free to charge more money for it. You don't have to charge the bare minimum. You can go higher. And that's one thing I would always recommend, is start high and then you can always go low. Never start low because it's incredibly hard to get higher up. I also think it's really important for artists to have a varied price point. So to have some cheaper pieces of work, some expensive pieces of work, and then everything in the middle. If everything's on the expensive end, then you're going to alienate a few customers, or quite a few customers, who can't afford them top prices. So I'd always recommend to have some more affordable pieces of work as well as the more luxurious pieces of work alongside that. That means if you have an entire range of different prices and different works and whatnot, you're more likely to attract more people based on their budgets and how much money they can spend on your art. And if you are going to have more affordable pieces of work alongside your regular or more expensive work, then it has to be good quality too. You can't be selling tat to customers just because it's cheaper than what you usually are selling it for. So just keep in mind that even the cheapest and the most expensive and everything in between all has to have really good quality. Even if your lower pieces of work are, say, £100 to £150, you still need to make sure that they are high quality pieces of work, just as good as the high end range. It might be that these ones are made from a completely different material and that's why they're more expensive, and this one might be a cheaper kind of material to use. Or these ones might have taken a lot longer to make, whereas these ones are a lot quicker, but the quality still has to be there, because when someone's paying for a piece of work and a piece of artwork, they expect a decent quality piece of art, not some cheap tat, regardless of where on the scale it falls into. And that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as you sell art, you'll become more familiar with pricing and the price structure and how to price your artwork properly. Just one thing to really keep in mind is don't undersell yourself and make sure you're not losing any money, because no one else does. No one else does in any industry. No one else does in any workplace. They don't work for nothing. They don't lose money when they go to work. So make sure you're making a profit. Make sure you're making money. Sometimes it is difficult because money is a dirty word and whatnot, and it can be hard to talk about these things, but people will understand that you've got a business, you've got rent to pay, you've got overheads, just like anyone else does. So regardless if like your friend or a family member tuts at a price of work, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, you shouldn't care about that, okay? Because as long as you're making money and you're pricing the work correctly so that people are buying it and they're enjoying it, that's all that matters, okay? So just don't lose money, and you will become better at figuring out what work sells for what, and it's a learning process and you'll get there. But if you follow these steps, which are basically common sense to be fair, you should be absolutely fine. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, give the video a big thumbs up, and just comment down below if you've got any questions or anything to ask us, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!